In problem 1, we're going to do this in our head, but let me show you what we're thinking. All right, this is in our head. I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to take the x through. So I'm going to get x times x, and then x times negative 3. So I'm going to get x squared. Now here's what I'm thinking, just minus 3x. And then I'm going to move over to the 6. So I'm going to get a 6x, and then a minus 18. So I get 6x, and then minus 18. But I can keep track of this in my head. Right? So I'm going to write this as x squared, and then just do this one in your head, right? Do this. The outer times the inner, okay? Outer times inner. Negative 3x plus 6x. Well, negative 3x plus 6x is plus 3x, and then minus 18. Okay, so here's what I did. First times the first, x squared, and then the outer times the inner, okay? The outer and the inner. So negative 3x plus 6x plus 3x. And then negative 18. In number 2, I've got a binomial and a binomial, so I'm going to do this. First, v squared. All right. Oh, let me write it reasonably. V squared. And then I'm going to do this. The outer and the inner. All right. So I get 2v plus v is 3v. And then finally the last and the last. 1 times 2 is a 2. All right, so it goes like this. First times first is v squared. Then take the outer product, combine the inner product. So 2v plus v is 3v, and then plus 2. And now in number 3, I'm going to do the same thing. First times the first is 6a times a is 6a squared. And then keep track of this in your head. The outer product is 12a, right? 12a, 2 times 6a is 12a, and the inner product is 3a. So I have 12a and 3a, that's 15a. And then the last times the last, plus 6. In number 4, first times the first, 6x times 6x, 36x squared. And now, try to keep this in your head. Outer product, all right, 6x times y is 6xy, plus the inner product, 18xy. Right, so I've got 6xy plus 18xy is 24xy. And then the last and the last. 3y times y is 3y squared. Okay? Let's move on here to number 5. Okay, first times first, 2t times 3t is 6t squared. Now keep track of this in your head. Outer product and inner product. The outer product is what? 8t. The inner product is 5 times 3 is 15, but negative. So I get 8t minus 15t is minus 7t. And then the last and the last. Negative 5 times positive 4 is negative 20. All right, number 6, I'm just going to distribute that 8 through. So I'm going to get 8b plus 8 times 7 is 56. That was a nice one. In 7, let's take this 5x through. So I'm going to multiply 5x, 5x, 5x. Just take it through. So what do we get to first? 5x times 3x squared. Well, the 5 times the 3 will give us a 15. The x times the x squared will give us an x cubed. So we will get 15x cubed. Now, move it over. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. X times x is x squared. So how about minus 20x squared? And then 5x times 4. Positive 5 times positive 4 is positive 20. But we have those x's. All right, let's just do this one as much as we can in our heads here. We'll get, first of all, 4b times b. How about 4b squared? 4b squared. Now, in our heads, the outer product is, right, 4b times 6 is 24, right? Positive times positive. So 24b, that's the outer, and the inner, negative 4b. So I get 24b minus 4b is plus 20b. And then the last and the last. Negative 4 times positive 6 is minus 24. I need to do better with those squared. So how about this? 4b squared plus 20b minus 24. First times first, 4x squared. Outer and inner. What do you get for the outer? Positive 4x times negative 7 is negative 28, and the inner is negative 8. So I got negative 28 x's, and then minus 8 x's. Negative 28 minus 8 is minus 36 x's. And then the last and the last gives us plus 56. Now, number 10, you recognize these? These are conjugates. One's plus, one's minus. We've got a shortcut pattern for this. The pattern is this. Square the first, so just look at one of these. Square the first, x squared. Get it to right here. X squared. Put a minus sign. Then square the second. Square the 4. 16. All right, that's a shortcut for this. So you can multiply it all the way out if you like, but the two middle terms will cancel. So the pattern is this. Square the first, write a minus sign, square the second. Now, number 11 almost looks like conjugates, but they're not. This is a 2x minus 3y. This is 3x plus 2y. They're not conjugates. So I'm going to have to just multiply it all the way out. So start with the x, run it through. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared. And then, let's see if we can keep track of these. I'll get a 4x, right? 2x times 2x is 4xy. And the outer, 4xy. The inner is minus 9xy. So xy. So 4xy minus 9xy is minus 5xy. And then the last and the last. Negative 3y times positive 2y is minus 6y squared. So what I did here was first and the first, there's the 6x squared. And then keep track of this. The outer product is 2x times 2y, 4xy. The inner product is negative 9xy. So negative 4xy, or plus 4xy, minus 9xy is at negative 5x squared. That's where that all comes from. Now, number 12, you recognize these. You got x minus 7 and an x plus 7. These are conjugates. So we have a rule for this. So just isolate one of them and look at it. Square the first, x squared. Write a minus sign, square the second. Now, the second is a 7. Square it, you get 49. Now, in 13, we're squaring a binomial. These are not conjugates. We're squaring a binomial. So we have the shortcut rule for this. You square the first, multiply the two terms together. 3 times x is 3x, but you double it. So you square the first, multiply the two together, and double it. 3x doubled is 6x. And then you square the last. So you square the last. 3 squared is 9. So the pattern goes like this. Square the first, x squared. Multiply the two together, 3x, double it, 6x, and then square the last. 14 looks like conjugates. Right, I've got 3x minus 9, 3x plus 9. They're the same terms, but one opposite sign. So I have a pattern for this. Square the first. Now, here's the first, 3x. Square the first. 3x times 3x, 9x squared. Put a minus sign. Square the last, 9. Square the 9, you get an 81. Right, so square the first, put a minus sign, square the last. In 15, we're squaring a binomial, so let's use the pattern for this. So the pattern goes like this. Square the first. All right, so here's the first, 4x. Square it. 4x times 4x, 16x squared. Multiply the two together. Now, 4x times 5 is 20x, but you double it. So square the first, multiply the two together, double that. So you get 20x, double it, you get 40x. And then square the last. 5 squared is 25. And we'll end it here with this binomial times a trinomial. Now, this happens to be a special pattern. Let's not be concerned about the pattern just yet. just do the multiplication. So start with the r, run it through. R times r squared times this one times this one. So let's do that. First of all, r times r squared is going to be r cubed. R times negative rd, r times r is r squared, so minus r squared d, and then r times d squared. You can't really multiply an r and a d squared, but you can indicate it by writing plus r d squared. Now, move over to the d. So we'll get d times r squared. So I'll get dr squared, or r squared d. All right, so I'll get a plus r squared d. Remember, order doesn't matter. And then I'll get the d times negative rd. So positive times negative is negative. I get r, and d times d is d squared. And then finally, d times d squared is plus d cubed, right? Positive d times positive d squared is plus d cubed. Now, what have we got? We have this term right here. We've got r cubed. Now, what happens here? I've got negative r squared d plus r squared d. So these two terms here cancel out. All right, so nothing there. And then what about rd squared? So I've got an rd squared, but minus rd squared. So those terms cancel out. And I'm just left with that d cubed then. So I'm left with a plus d cubed.